people want change. People don't feel represented. People know that both parties are breaking down, that they're rigging the system, that both parties are not representing them. And it's really just a matter of finding a solution.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Patriots Table. This week we want to dive into something new, a little bit looking out into the future here. We're in the digital age, and I think one of the things that is going to be coming in the very near future, um, with that digital age is politics. And what does it look like when our politics here in America start taking a more digital front? I mean, we're going from everything's still in the mail, everything's still, phone calls and stuff like that. It's still that's one thing that just hasn't seemed like it's really caught up with the times. So this week we wanted to bring in somebody to speak on that, and we have the visionary and founder of Think, which is the Future Is Now coalition, and Think is kind of the groundbreaking start in getting into what and bringing digital politics to America. And the founder of that is none other than Travis Miserel. Travis, thanks for joining us on the show this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, for the people who don't know, like, what is digital politics? Because I mean that seems like such a loaded question to me, because there's so many aspects of politics, right? Whether it's, you know, you getting random texts and phone calls to getting pamphlets in the mail to, just watching the news. I think the most what people would think is more digital politics is like, is we going to get more politics just on TV or on social media? But, you know, what is digital politics really looking like as far as what Fink is doing?
Yeah, sure. So, kind of the breakdown and good kind of intro start here is so there's two main concepts. It's digital politics and digital democracy. Digital democracy is really the platform that we're envisioning, the long term plan, and that's phase two. Right now we're in phase one. But digital democracy is going to be where one stop shop for all the political information, showcasing all candidates equally, showing who's funding their campaign, conflicts of interest, what are their promises? Do they deliver on their promises? So it's really like streamlining how to compare side by side the candidates, and we're not here to sway where people which policies that somebody should support, but whatever you want to support, we want to make sure you're voting for somebody that's actually going to fight for you, actually going to fight for those promises. um so again, that's digital democracy. Digital politics starts now. It's part of phase one and phase two. Digital politics is really the new way to do politics. So, part of it is using this platform, but even before the platform is in full fruition, we could already start making the changes. One of the new ways I've been talking about it is kind of one aspect of it is kind of looking at politicians a little more like influencers. um so if you compare like a celebrity to an influencer, like an old time celebrities become famous kind of from the top down, like those that are already in power, whether it's Hollywood or wherever, kind of help make somebody become famous. Where influencers are a little more organic. They gain popularity by the average person, and the algorithms and usage of people liking their stuff is what rises them to fame. um so similarly, that's part of what we're looking at for like politicians. And yeah, the influencers could be superficial sometimes, but what we're doing, not it's not always, it varies. But the most important thing is, like, there's more direct engagement with citizens, and citizens are the ones that grow them and bring them essentially to power in the influencer world. Um so um so there's just different ways of looking at politics. So there's like a digital politics lens, and that's part of it. There's other pieces to it as well. Um and just generally, like, what could politics look like in the digital age, and most important, building the evolving the leadership selection process in a way that's no longer in control by the gatekeepers of both parties. Having a platform that citizens own, citizens control, and able to choose who they like without the influence of those more powerful.
Oh, a lot to a lot to unpack. I
Yeah,
mean, the
sorry.
first, I mean, big part with that for me is, having a place where, and again, a non-bias, it's not left or right, having a place where you can see what a politician's about, because most times where you have to go see what a politician is about is from either the left or right, and obviously it's very biased. If you're watching TV and you see a commercial for a politician and it's against the politician, I mean, it's the same thing. This person hates Americans. This person doesn't care about jobs. This person's this and that. They voted for this, and they don't tell you when or where, or when they're supporting, it's, oh, they're for the, it's just, there's not a lot of substance behind it. It's the same kind of talking point no matter what. So having a place where you actually have a breakdown of, hey, this is what this person stands for. This is even, let's say if it's somebody voting again, I'd imagine you'd be able to see, oh, this is how they've voted before. This is what issues they voted on before, for or against. This goes against what they said they were about. Campaign promises. I mean, keeping track of campaign promises is huge, because it seems like somebody gets in office and you get, 2 to 4 years later and people forget what they campaigned on the first time around,
Yeah.
and they just go with whatever the new thing is. I mean, I've seen Republicans and Democrats like turn on a dime. Oh, I'm for this, and then 3 years later, well, I'm just not again. I'm not for it at all, and nobody ever talks about kind of the dishonest flip flopping. So this sounds like something that could really keep people honest and accountable, and have that information, essentially at people's fingertips to go look that up without having to question this yeah, the news channel, because whether you're listening to Fox News or CNN, it's
Mhm.
again, what's not biased nowadays? What doesn't
Yeah.
have an agenda or playing to either side? Um, Andrea, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so basically like bridging the gap and okay, I'm gonna go look up this about a candidate and I just want facts. I don't want opinions. I don't want it twisted and out of context and a snippet and a clip. I want their voting record, right or left or middle, whoever it is. I want their stances. I want who are they being funded by? Are all those things basically going to be in a tab on this candidate and you can click which one you want to go through and see the facts and, I guess not have the lack of transparency we have now to where you have to be an expert at digging up the truth, which I'm very good at personally, but not everybody has hours to dig on the internet and go through files and read government databases to find out what is going on with this person.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and I've talked to since I started this over 1,000 citizens, and like a lot of people, especially young people, they don't want to have to research all this stuff. They're not,
Mhm.
I've been saying it. They don't want it to be a second job. Politics to be a second job. For most people, they have enough in their life, and it shouldn't be this hard to find this information. Um, and like what you guys touch on of like, are the main evils of the world that we talk about right now is like the establishment media, the party gatekeepers, and then like corporate big money are the big things that
Mhm.
influence us. And they're a fraction of 1% of the population, yet they have so much influence on our
Mhm.
choices. And like, even before the first primary, they before the primaries even begin, they know who they want to shove down our throats. They know who they want to win in pretty much every race. And if somebody that's actually grassroots and actually people want that person but the establishment doesn't, they're gonna bury them as easily as they can. Um so this really like shifts the balance of just giving the straightforward information. Is this candidate electable? How popular are they becoming? Do they have a chance to win? Is it wasting my vote? So yeah, there's a lot of implications of how this can really shift the decision making process.
I
And
mean,
so
you
I have
talk
another
about,
question.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I have another question since I do connect a lot with people younger than me and I'm just out there a lot. Would this be something you could also put into like an app and people could just download and go in and scroll through and pick through? Is that an idea with what you guys are doing, or are you thinking more like website oriented?
Well, definitely both. Hands down, it has to be an app, as well. But I mean, we're really talking about like this. We want this to really evolve into the digital embodiment of America's democracy. And part of it too is like us that think we're not just building this we're not like creating a tech ourselves and then just handing it to people. We want to build this with America. We want like movements involved on all different sides. We want like alternative candidates, third parties, independent
Mhm.
journalists, um, just all different types of stakeholders building this with us. Again, it's going to be citizen owned, not owned by Think, not owned by big tech or the gatekeepers, but the actual people. So there's going to be a plethora of different features. You know, it starts with the politician report cards that we just talked about, but then
Mhm.
there'll be like Reddit style forums to be able to talk about specific policy stances and talk citizen to citizen on things, making decisions, building consensuses. I mean, the potential is unlimited. It's just a matter of like it's really about the buy-in. That's what we're focused on is like you have to but
Mhm.
for the buy-in, you have to have trust with the American people, really believing that this is unbiased. We're not trying to sway them in a certain direction. Um and but like once you start getting that buy-in and this starts really being the place to go to decide who you're going to vote for, then like then the amount of support and resources just grows exponentially and the potential just expands.
Mhm.
And I do want to point out, I mean, this, because I'm sure there's plenty of skeptics with this, on whether or not this would be viable and work. I, you already have some proof of this viability and it working on even a smaller scale with organizations like Track APAC, which is being very much used today, in especially with the volatile thing going on in politics with, Israel and a foreign lobby and everything. Everybody wants to know, if a candidate is taking money from this lobby. So that's boomed in the past, even year. So you see digital a form of digital democracy, digital politics already coming to fruition naturally just through something like that. And that's just for one thing. That's one organization, right? That's a very small piece of what you're talking about. So I guess, have you run into any hurdles with this, like with, you know, these gatekeepers you're talking about, which, would be the duopoly, the major party? Because I mean, that's a big thing with, it's with either party. It's not necessarily what candidate the people would mostly want. It's whatever's best for the party, and that's who gets the endorsement, that's who gets the airtime, that's who gets the money, that's who gets all this stuff. And it's kind of, it doesn't matter if 70% of the citizens would have wanted, that candidate. They go with, well, this is what we think is best for the party. So have you gotten any blowback from any of this? I imagine this wouldn't go over well taking on, I mean, this is hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars we're talking about flows through this stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, no, great question. Yeah, definitely they're not gonna we're not trying to partner up with, establishment candidates anytime soon. Really the strategy is kind of working our out from the outside in, like, citizens are number one. Just if we could just get the just pure citizens on board with this and like really show that this is a new form of a voting block that like millions of people start getting influenced by looking at this objective information and they see all their candidates. So, even the one that can't raise millions of dollars is right next to the person that's the establishment's main candidate. Um, so citizens first, we're talking to independent journalists, a lot of podcasters, other kind of influencers, movements, and then even when we do touch on candidates, it's more grassroots candidates, third parties, independents, but then even candidates within the two parties that are just in some way not non-establishment, they're not the party pick. So it's really working our way outward in. The beauty is that all this information, we don't need their consent. Definitely the one layer of this that will be good is that um having like virtual town halls on the system, people being able to ask questions to the politicians. So first it'll start out like the grassroots people, the alternative candidates, they'll be on there participating, answering questions, doing virtual town halls. And then like pretty soon after, once they see like millions of citizens talking to their politicians on the system, like they're not gonna be able to avoid it, you know. So in short, we're not anticipating major support from the establishment people yet. So we're purposely built our entire strategy on independent journalists, independent candidates, all that kind of stuff. And then, build the citizen support, the citizen buy-in, and then, then the politicians can't really choose against it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess what's is one of your biggest problems you're having getting that out there to the citizens? I mean, what's the core problem that Fink is having, and that you're trying to solve?
Well, really, up until now, the hardest thing is just the what has been really just explaining how unique this is, and like there's a lot of pieces to it. Like I know the tech itself is pretty easy to grasp of just how the tech would work, but the side of digital politics, how like more of the implications of how things change is it takes more explaining and stuff like that. So that was the biggest hurdle. We're finally getting down to like we know how to explain it in the right kind of language now. Still working on that elevator pitch. I'm still like trying to summarize it. Like digital democracy again is easier to say like what's going to be on the platform. Um, but to explain like how the day to day of politics would change, there's just a lot to explain. So we're trying to turn like walls of text into quicker explanations and different graphics and different content. Um, so that's been the bigger challenge. And then the other part is really just building the trust with citizens. Myself and everyone on our team is not like hasn't been in the political space, so we're like kind of political outsiders in all sorts of ways, not even in like the reform space. um, so we're kind of building a network completely from scratch, and then for a lot of people, especially the older generations, this is just so different that a lot of them can't even grasp it. So that's been a big challenge. Gen like millennial, Gen Z are pretty easy to get on board with this idea. Older generation like, no, this is how politics is. This is how it's always going to be. You can't change it. The establishment runs things. Nothing's going to change. It's always going to be the way it is. It's like, no, it can't be that way. Everything else changed, like you said earlier.
No, and Andrea, I think, brought up a study to me it was either earlier today or yesterday about, Andrea, was it with the strictly like millennials and just the younger generation, like 45
Millennials and under is
millennials and
45%
under
currently identified.
45% of them like don't even, you know, say they're like left
At
or right.
least,
They
yeah.
don't say they're a Democrat, they don't say they're a Republican. They're just kind of like, we're kind of done
Hmm.
with what's going on, where this is at. I mean, we've watched our grandparents, we've watched our parents, and we see like this is broken. It doesn't work. The the corrupt are just getting more corrupt. The the citizens are getting less of a voice. It's getting worse. It's supposed to be getting better. Each side says when they're in power, they're in office,
Yeah.
it's going to get better, and it's not
Hmm.
getting better. And I would even argue that some of the very people that could start making things better don't even see the light of day when they run or, put their hat in the ring to run. So I definitely think, this could be a path forward to fixing that. And I mean, this doesn't just sound like an information hub. This sounds like almost like its own social media platform.
Hmm.
Like you
Hmm.
reference like a Reddit type thing. I mean, I'm sure it sounds like almost sounds like yeah, just like that, a social media Reddit type platform with, some, would that be with elements almost like a Wikipedia type thing? Is that a
I
good?
was gonna say that. Yeah, those are parts of it. There's still even more than that. But yeah, it's because again, it's like because eventually it's going to kind of be like multiple platforms kind of under one umbrella is really what it's going to end up being. So like another mechanism is going to be polling systems, so that like nationwide we got the massive amount of polling and know what who wants what in what districts. And like really what I envision for politics, down the line is like a politician saying, I run for this district. Let me zoom in on that district. Let me see what they actually want and let me build my policies based on what they want, rather than like, oh, I'm a Democrat, so this is my policy. And,
Uh-huh.
so
And
this
not
just
just be
this,
people on campuses. You're not just going to poll people on campuses
right,
and that be
right.
what we go
Well,
off of.
and I think there's an important factor here is, so a lot of the polls are paid for by a politician on
Yeah.
the other side. So that's not exactly non-biased information
Mhm.
either, because if someone's paying for it and hoping that the odds maybe favor them in the media, or another side take a poll and hope they don't, then you don't really have transparency and honesty in that poll. And we see that all the time. People are like, oh, this person's gonna win, this person's gonna win, and they don't. Or I'll even bring up back when Trump ran the first time, it was all Hillary Clinton was gonna win. Oh yeah, he doesn't have a
Mhm.
chance, and well, he
Mhm.
won, and it showed that the polls were not telling the truth the majority of that, campaign.
Yeah. 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 100%.
No, I really like that point too. And I mean, I think polling in general is just another tactic that they use to get their way, right? The people in power get their way with what they want with the candidate, and it failed the first time Trump ran because if people trust the polls, if majority of people trust the polls, and you go, oh, this person doesn't have a chance in hell of winning, right? Most people are going to be like, well, it's not like my vote's going to make a difference, so I
Mhm.
might as well
Mhm.
stay home. I'm not going to go stand in line for an hour, hour and a half to the voting booth when it doesn't even matter. So again, that's just yet another, it seems like it's another one of those tactics that these people that you're talking about use to control outcomes that favor what they want. And this kind of takes the it takes the power out of their hands.
Yeah.
You actually see some more transparent, honest numbers come about, which people have been complaining about polling since, gosh, I've heard my grandparents complain about polling and they've been doing it, complain about it their whole life. So, I mean, I think this has always been a problem, and this could seem like quite a very good solution. But the only thing that like worries me is I see how hard the establishment fights any kind of change like this that puts power back into the hands of the people because they've spent decades and decades acquiring this. Like, I mean, is there any is there any way that they could really fight this from really taking hold and spreading, discrediting? Like, is there anything that you've run into or any bumps in the road you foresee if of them trying to shut this down? Because I doubt they wouldn't let it just happen without a little bit of a fight or kicking and screaming about it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely, without a doubt, fight to the death, almost to the death. Like I even envision at some point having to have a security detail for myself. Um, but no, like I mean, one of the unique things about this strategy is that we're not counting on legislative change. Most reform, or pretty much all reforms of today, are specifically they're trying to petition a change, like, oh, like pass an amendment to get money out of politics, or pass ranked choice voting, pass this, pass that. And it's like we always say this, that you're asking a wolf to lock their own cage. But here we're not asking for legislative change. We're changing the people's decision making. We're evolving their access to this information, forcing more transparency into the system. um so the way this changes is that we're giving easy information to the citizens that's going to ultimately change, make them, have them be able to make better voting decisions for themselves. So when push comes to shove, it's all about the elections, like getting better candidates, whether it's better Democrats, better Republicans, better third parties, having third parties, alternatives. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. That's going to be up to America to decide as we roll this out. Um, but so we're not counting on legislative change. Like down the line, there's some legislative stuff that we would want to see once everything is enacted. But talking like decades later, after the better candidates are elected. So to your question, it's pretty much just going to be, they're going to say not to trust it. Maybe they'll do fear that a more direct democracy is a bad thing, that you can't trust citizens to make decisions for themselves. Because there's a percentage of people that would believe that they wouldn't want as direct of a democracy. I have heard that, but I think it's also a small percentage. Um, so I think it's just going to be things like that. They're going to just try to attack it the way they can, but it just the way we're going about this is just so different and so alien to them that they're just never going to be able to, yeah, they're gonna be a thorn in our side like forever, but there's always ways for us to get around it just because it's just so different. The strategy is so different than a typical, like it's not in any way a typical political strategy. This is a completely brand new type of a strategy. So, they'll be behind the eight ball, like, each step.
I
I
mean, I
think it
can.
would really help to have something like this, especially in local elections, because people really get hyped up about a presidential election, right? They're so involved. But then you have local government elections and nobody even knows who they're voting for. I actually am someone that people come to find out about their local politics and like, Andrea, do you even know who's running for the council seat? And I'm like, yeah, I do, but you had to go dig up all this information and go online and I'll find a ballot, by the way. Oh, and well, I don't know what their stances are. They're somewhere on social media. So I think locally it would be actually a big deal because I feel like locally we are suffering as voters because everyone will turn out for a presidential election and maybe even someone a governor election, but they won't turn out when there's all these tax levies on the ballot. There's all these things changing around them in their local communities. They have no clue what is going on, and that's where you have higher taxes in areas that doesn't make sense. Um, and I just feel like people are just not informed, and they don't want to go deal with it because it's just too much time and too much effort to go vote every year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, local, I hear that often. And then even just the primaries, you don't really know, like the establishment approved candidate, you're probably going to find some good
Mhm,
information, but then all the other candidates you don't. So most people don't participate in the primaries, and like you said, the local elections, because you're absolutely right. It's a lot harder as you go down the ticket. It's harder and
mhm.
harder to find information for those candidates. So yeah, this will make a huge change there as well.
And you run into like the bias, right? So like I've had friends that ran for like school board and stuff, and they were just running as themselves, not a party. They wanted to find what people actually wanted in the community and come in that space. But then you had the right and left gatekeepers saying, "Oh no, it's either this person or this person," and we're swaying everyone either this side or the side, not actually thinking about policy and that you paid attention to what they actually wanted because, oh, well, you might be Republican. Oh, well, you might be Democrat. So it's not half these voting decisions are not based on policy and what this person stands for. They're based on, well, should I just vote Republican?
Mhm.
Right? I should just hit R on all these buttons,
Mhm.
right? Because I just need to get this over with. I mean, I see this all the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, exactly. So this changes that. There's room for more nuance, more complexity of where people stand on issues. It really just blows the top off. And to your point earlier, what we were saying about like the independents. I mean, like I'm seeing so many different statistics that more people now at least identify as independent rather than the two
Hmm.
parties. And and it makes sense. Like the world's not black and white. You can't be 100% this or 100% that. Things are more complicated, and so this allows for that without getting too overwhelmed and being able to know the information that you're looking for.
Well, and lately in Ohio, for example, you'll hear like in the primaries, which we have coming up, oh, they'll tell people that don't know better, oh, you're throwing your vote away. You just want to harm our side. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's the primaries. So whoever they want to vote for, this isn't the governor election. They just get to vote for who they choose and see who wins. So there's a lot of like of that false information being spread around to people that don't know any better. And I've had some message me, I'm like, "Oh, no, you vote for who you want. That's just the primary," you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's that's one of the key things is, like, cutting out the noise, the influence, the manipulation, having an objective
Mhm,
system, and then even, like, there's actually gonna be a section that's gonna be, like, a home for independent journalists, so you'll have access to journalists if you wanna learn, like, different
mhm,
viewpoints, and, there'll be people of all different sides, all different objectivity, but the incentive that will be built into it is are giving genuine information to the people, like, maybe you might not agree with their stance on a strategy, whether maybe they have more left or right leaning strategy, but long as their actual intention is giving you the best truth to the best of their own knowledge, journalists might not be
mhm,
perfect, but it's about the intention, where the establishment is all they're selling you a narrative. It doesn't matter if the
mhm,
anchor actually believes what they're saying, they're just selling it to you. They probably don't believe what they're saying half the time. So
mhm.
this is all about cutting out those influences, and then really building a level playing field for journalists, for candidates, for movements, for alternative parties potentially. Yeah.
And I guess I have another question here. Would you be vetting these journalists' work? Like, would you go through and have someone checking, is the information right? Or is there going to be some kind of, I guess in that way where, yeah, it can be right or left, I guess, leaning or in the independent realm. But still, even in the independent new media, there is always this, there's a lean,
Mhm,
even
mhm.
to the best of their ability. So would you have someone checking, hey, let me see yours, what you're going to publish here, and is it accurate to what the information we're holding here on this candidate?
Yeah, great question. Like, definitely, like you just said, like, because people kind of need some of like, because the news person's giving their genuine opinion and stuff, so there's going to
Hmm.
be that lens. But to your point, it wouldn't be think vetting them specifically. There'll be some basic layer of like who's considered a journalist compared to like maybe like a general
A
influencer.
propagandist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but, to that point, we wanna build in rating systems so citizens hold these people accountable. So,
Mhm,
basically, it'll be something like, after a citizen watches a video, it'll have ratings of, like, how accurate were they, how biased were they, how partisan
mhm,
were they, and, like,
mhm,
it's easier said than done. It'll take a while to really flesh out that kind of an algorithm, but, because citizens are gonna be biased as well,
mhm,
but, ultimately the idea is for citizens to hold the politicians or to hold the journalists accountable. Because again, we don't even want to be us to be like the top
mhm,
down, or like we're deciding who can speak, who's on the
mhm,
platform, who's
mhm,
not. We
of
we want
course.
it to be the citizens. So yeah, so we're gonna implement some kind of feature like that, like a more of a like a rating system to hold them on, keep them honest.
It sounds like the almost like the community notes on X now that Grok does. It'd be like somebody says something. It's like, well, here's a community note that's actually not really the case. So it sounds kind of similar to that, where the actual users on X is like, yeah, you're you're full of shit, right? And like,
Mhm,
and so that's no, that's great because that I mean that just builds that trust, right? That you guys aren't being like, well, we're not deciding what's
mhm,
truth and what's lies and this and that. You guys are gonna if you, and that also puts the success or failure of it in the citizens' hands as well on whether or not how honest it's going to be. So I mean, I'd like to think that majority of Americans are honest, but that would really put to the test how committed is America at this point to transparency and honesty and a non-biased thing as well. I mean, I'd like to think most Americans are, but that would be very interesting, and you could start to get an actual feel of where Americans stand on things, not through the lens of, hey, we want to just paint a picture that most of America is right leaning or left leaning or this or that. Like what do Americans really care about? Because I see majority of people getting silenced
mhm.
or
Yeah.
words being put in their mouths from politicians, from major news outlets and stuff like that. And not a lot of people's voices are heard, not the average person. And I think Americans might find that they have a lot more in common with each other than they think they do because there's this picture that's painted by the establishment that, oh, that's my enemy because I'm a
Mhm.
Republican. My enemy is the Democrats, not the people in power, not the swamp, not the, puppet masters. It's the Democrats. And I think I said this on last week's episode. You have more in common with the person on the other side of the aisle politically than you will ever have in common with that politician that you voted for. And it'll never change. And I think people really start seeing, if people can get into this and this can really take off, people will start seeing that, wow, I actually do have a lot more in common and care a lot more about what these people also stand for than what this politician is telling me. And you might see a unity in Americans that hasn't been around for a very, very long time.
Yeah, 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 100%. I hear that so often that and a lot of the polling can show that as well, that, like, it's by design. They wanna keep us fighting. They want us to blame one another instead of those in power, and, that keeps them in power is by how us fighting each other. Um, but there's so much commonality, and we do see it, especially the way our focus is right now. Like, because kind of in a nutshell, another verbiage of what we're doing is like we're building new civic infrastructure. Like it's not just like a tool; it's like the new way to do politics ultimately. Um, and the but like the main thing that we could bring a lot of people together is just simple things like money out of politics or insider trading with Washington. A lot of people want a term limits with Washington. So there's like a lot of like core things that just make sense. It's more empowering to the voter, more transparency. There's like so many issues that we could like it's almost like that's like a good like starting point. Like there's all these easier things to deal with. Yes, when you get into some social issues, immigration, there's going to be more heated debates, but there's so many different areas where there's like almost no debates. Like 85% of America does agree on the same thing. And it's just Congress would never want to talk about it because, again, it's going to lock their own cage. It's going to limit their own power. And so they pretend nobody even wants to talk about those things.
And
Yeah,
they
I
put
tell Trey
against
that.
people against each other all the time. Like
Yeah.
how that gets me, that part of this really gets me excited because how many issues never see the light of day just because people think, ah, there's not really a lot of us that would support this thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and actually have a platform where something like that can just really blossom overnight and really get traction in a movement, and people go, oh my gosh, there's millions of Americans that feel the exact same way I do. I mean, you saw this during COVID organically happen where everybody was like, okay, you guys said 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Here we are. How this far? Like, enough. Enough's enough. I want to get back to my normal life. And everybody was just like, oh wow, everybody feels this way. Yeah, let's go, guys. Like, and next thing, places started opening up because everybody was for it. You know, you that I would say that was one of the big things with even the MAGA movement, because you had a lot of independents vote for Trump in the MAGA movement because everybody was like, America first kind of seems like a nonpartisan issue to me. More money in my pocket, less wars, less frivolous spending, less sending hundreds of billions overseas. You can be a Democrat and be like, yeah, we can keep that money in here. We can find something to do with it, even if it's for, stuff I don't necessarily agree with. At least it's on America, right? So you see bits and pieces of raw movements like that, and people go, "Oh my gosh, there's actually millions of Americans that feel the exact same way that I do." But how many of those things don't even happen because it never saw the light of day? And
Mhm.
that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, and that's both on the federal level, local levels. Like there might be a town, and people are upset with like I don't know they want to build a fountain somewhere and cut down, shut like knock down a park or something, and you don't know that there's other people that care. So this allows anyone at any level, state, federal, or nationwide, to say, like, to post something like, hey, do other people agree with this? Is there enough traction to sway things in one way or the other? So yeah, it works in all levels, in all different ways. That, could even be somebody has like an obscure idea of a solution of a certain kind of policy that no one's proposed before, and then it just gains traction. It like goes viral the way things go viral on social media, and then it gains such popularity that next thing you know, they're pushing it in front of Congress and trying to get it enacted.
Hmm.
Andrea, did you have a point?
Yeah, I mean, you see this all the time with like tax levies. Like they'll sneak these tax levies in locally and nobody really shows up with the people that know about them.
Mhm.
And then you end up going, why are my taxes raised another 3%? When did this pass? What's going on? Did nobody show up to vote? No, we're already paying 40% higher property taxes, et cetera. But part of it is nobody has a clue, and then nobody shows up that is opposing this. And then you have a tiny portion of the population voting and getting
Mhm.
what they want, and the majority is not. I mean, granted, some of it's on them. They should show up. You should pay attention. I know it's difficult, but you should. But that's a really big problem with local government, and just like your everyday city needs.
I agree. I mean, I would like to see, and Travis, you guys just launched your hub a couple weeks ago where people can actually go in and start building this network that you're talking about. You can, plug in journalists, a movement, or a politician. You can go see the resources. You can even join on and become a citizen architect and help, build this movement and stuff. I would love to see that hub, that digital politics hub, up there with the main social media apps. Like,
Yeah.
everybody has their Facebook downloaded, everybody has their Instagram and their X.
Mhm.
Number four, well, everybody you have to have digital politics because, I mean, if you don't have digital politics, you don't know what's going on in the country. Like, that's where I see that going. That's where I hope everybody will be with it is, oh, hey, what did you hear what was going on? No, well, this person put this and everybody vetted it. This is what we're talking about. And you'll really see that. I mean, do you have some big stuff coming in the future with that as we're coming up on the midterms here in 2026. So there's going to be a lot of frenzy going on with this stuff, and there's a lot of talk because a lot of people aren't really happy with the Trump administration. Even a lot of right the right-leaning people aren't really happy with what's going on. So people are talking about the midterms are up in the air. So does Fink got anything going on coming out in the future in regards to the midterms? What's going to be available to people?
Yeah, so a lot is going to be the speed of support that comes in. This will grow exponentially. But it's really going to be all people powered. So like you just mentioned, we launched our digital politics hub just this month. It's still bare bones. It's still in its infancy, but even in the next couple of weeks, a month or two, you'll see some major upgrades. We're going to be incorporating probably some polling features very soon, like in-depth kind of polling features. Really the core right now is like phase one is really this coordination phase and awareness phase, like letting people understand like this is what the plan is, the implications of how big this can be, how it will help like most Americans. Most people will see how this will work to their advantage. It gives them way more information, and it gives them a voice on this system. Even if there'll be sections where you could throw your opinion somewhere, but it's gonna have more weight than it does now anywhere else, in a form of influence in politics. There's like some basic features right now to spread the word, build the people power, build this digital politics network out, and then so over the next couple of months there'll be more and more features that help build consensus. Where do people stand on different issues? Start amplifying grassroots candidates and other grassroots efforts, grassroots ideas. Um, so the big digital democracy, if we do play our cards right and everything grows pretty quickly, we could get the politician report cards done by the midterms, for digital democracy side of it. Um, but at the very least, the digital politics features will keep expanding, just connecting more and more dissatisfied people, and just starting to move that needle forward, start building the base of having support, having citizen oversight in what we're doing. We want people's feedback, like we said, like we call people citizen architects. Like, we want people to feel like you're actually building this new system with us. You're building digital democracy with us. Um, so it can move quickly. It's starting to start picking up as we're meeting with different reform organizations and podcasts, and doing some stuff on social media. We're starting to gain some traction. So the faster that moves, the faster we could start really releasing a lot of different features. And there's a lot of different directions it could go, because there a lot of the technology kind of already exists. So it's like some of it's just inheriting it from other places, or working with other nonprofits to plug their technology into the shared infrastructure. So the technology is almost easy. It just, the uniqueness of how we have to do it, we need the buy-in first, and then the technology can move very rapidly. So right now, this stage is really proving demand, proving that America would buy into this, that they would want this, they'd support it. Um, and so if that grows pretty decently over the next couple months, then we could have some pretty significant features by the midterms. Definitely like the politician report cards. We'll have a lot of the polling consensus type system, ways that people could have different kind of debates in a different way that's not just a fight. Um, and then the big changes will be by the next general election. We'll even have like a people's primary, and like a whole slew of different features will be launched by then. But definitely hoping to build some pretty solid voter, like showing us, building a voting block of people that want significant change, and starting to really coordinate them to make certain decisions that actually do shift the election results.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, what keeps what makes you optimistic that citizens are going to actually take lead and start co-creating this next generation of politics? Because I mean, that's I imagine that's got to be one of the biggest hurdles is selling that, hey, people can and want to do this.
Yeah, it's really because, like, the main thing that keeps people either complacent or frozen is the manipulation. You look at the legitimate polls, and like even the ones that they're all skewed. If you aggregate the different biases and whatnot, you know, like, again, for the first time in modern history, more people identify as independent right now. Um, Trust in government is an all-time low. Even before Trump, government has been an all-time low for like the last 5 or 10 years. Trust in news, all-time low. Disease of despair, all-time high. People are desperate for change. They want change. They're frozen. I hear about millions of people that, like, I just want to do something and I don't know what to do. There's nothing out there that is a viable solution forward. Um, so they're frozen, and like, so just learning what we're doing and how we're doing it is, I just know, like, it's just a matter of people listening, and like, sometimes they don't hear the right thing that they need to hear to like really buy into this, and then like something will say, and then it'll click for them. So that's actually been the struggle, is just finding the right wording to say to the right people, because there's certain features where somebody go, oh, now I get it, now I see how this could like be world changing implications. Where some people will see it as a smaller scale thing, but it's just that, the demand is there. People want change. People don't feel represented. People know that both parties are breaking down, that they're rigging the system, that both parties are not representing them. And it's really just a matter of finding a solution. Um, and a key to that too is, like, there's all these these like partial solutions that exist. Like, there's like third party candidates, there's like independent coalitions, there's different ways to categorize politicians. But the problem is they're all partial, and so like you're not going to get everyone on the same page. But what we're doing is that we're not saying that those solutions aren't solutions. We want to plug them in and build an umbrella for all solutions, every kind of way, like, whether it's, ranked choice voting, money out of politics, just any new idea, the forward party, and they have a unique way to look at third parties. They have some good ideas. So like building a space to plug in all those solutions, then give the citizens a chance that, like, hey, here's the menu, here are the choices for change, but then start building a consensus. Which ones are gaining traction? Which ones are not? Which ones are not, good enough for the digital age? And so you know by it's like all the alternative ways can be plugged in and structured in a way that's not overwhelming. It doesn't give people the choice paralysis. They'll know what's in front of them. They know the options they have, and then they could focus on where they want to put their energy and support. uh so it's those different pieces that makes me really just like, I just know, like, if it wasn't for what we're doing, I don't see a lot of good solutions that are gonna like bring everyone together. But like, I just really believe in this. I've been talking to so many different people. We have MAGA people on here, centrist Democrats, anarchists, socialists. Like, I've seen people across the board falling in love with what our vision is. And just that alone gives me hope that, like, if you could get all these different demographics to agree on the same thing, then you just got to kind of scale it up. So yeah, so it's all that I just can really see that this, just the more people can trust it and understand it is the challenge, and then everything else falls into place.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part that will appeal, I think, to even the older generation too, is people are tired of there being no transparency and then letting them make the choice. Like, they don't want to be told, well, you need to vote for him because this side says so and this and that, and snip clips of what they said if it's not really what they said. And I think people are just tired of having to dig through the muck to just get the facts so they can make an informed decision. And you see this in all aspects of society. You go to a doctor and you want to be informed on what they're going to do with the surgery and stuff. And even then, sometimes there's things missing. And it's like, I just need to be informed so I can make the best decision for myself or my family. And you don't have that in politics much because, again, you're filtering through the muck and nobody has hours of their life to dig through X. Okay, did he really say that? Let's go find the clip. Oh, I found it. It's at the 10-minute mark. Like, people just, I mean, you should do that somewhat, but people don't have time to do that on the level that it would need to be done.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like this would also give, the people who do have that time to do that type of work and do that type of investigation, like you said, there's a section in, this hub to plug in journalists or movements and people who might be already doing this work that people don't know about and be like, hey, well, this person's putting that out there. Kind of like what I said about X in the, community notes. Hey,
Mhm.
they're saying this person said this, but, everybody's saying that's not the case. Here's the full clip of what they said. Here's the full context of what was said. Here was the question that they were answering or whatever the case may be. And, you can shine light on that because people don't know what to believe nowadays I mean, I use a very recent example, the situation that happened in Venezuela. There was video clips of people waving, Venezuelan flags and stuff and cheering and excited, and
Or
everybody was
crying.
like,
Yeah.
oh, look at all these Venezuelans, look how happy they are after what happened. And then it comes to find out that was like a viral video,
Mhm.
but that was in Chile. That
Right.
wasn't even in Venezuela, and like nobody knew, and it was blowing up all over the place, and
I mean,
everybody was
some of
just,
the videos that were blowing up were fake. They were
oh,
AI. I
AI
mean,
videos
if you're
too.
trained to find it, you can see it. Like, I'm very good at that, but not everybody is. And it's got millions of shares. I'm like, the guy's got 7 fingers on one hand. If you just pay attention, if you don't look at the crying and the emotions. He's got 7 fingers. This is your viral proof
Wow.
that people are celebrating, and then all the news media was sharing it. It's
Yeah,
like that's not
like
true.
major news networks are sharing this stuff, and like
Uh,
there was like there's the people, there's the X accounts or the Facebook accounts with, 700 followers or friends or something being like, hey, this is fake. Not nobody's really gonna see that. Not many people are gonna see that, but all the big news outlets and everybody's just lighting it on fire. But you have something like a community hub like this, gosh, that kind of stuff can be squashed within minutes,
yeah.
within hours. Nah, that's not the case, guys. I mean, so there's definitely, I mean, Travis, you got something really unique here, and I really hope that Americans and citizens, come come support this. And I mean, even get involved. Get involved with it, guys. I mean, like I said, this is going to be citizen owned and operated and ran, and that's for people looking for a solution. This could definitely be that viable solution because everything I've heard solution wise for this stuff has been replacing a major party with a smaller party, and then that small party becomes a major party or something along those lines. And it's like I fail to see how using the same thing is going to fix the problem, like a different version of the same thing. Because I don't think a new major political party is going to fix America. I think you're going to probably add to the swamp. But as long as the power remains, I mean, this has been a basic thing, a thing that our founding fathers have been talking about. As long as power remains in the hands of the people, that's the only thing that'll keep America free and America going is if it's in the hands of the people. If it keeps going to the powerful, the greedy, the politicians, it's not going to go anywhere good.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree.
So, I mean, where I see, I think the people can plug in and just go to futureis.org, check out your guys' website, and then if they want to get involved in the hub, that's hub.futureis.org,
Yeah.
and get involved, guys, because this is something that could change, and like you said, at first it starts as a community, and then it really grows into a movement and a network. Travis, is there anything you want to plug in or say before we wrap up the episode today?
Yeah, just what like you just said, so people could go to hub.futures.org is the hub itself. Futures.org is just the general website to learn more about the entire mission. And join us there, join us on our socials at futureis.org. We're also revamping our Discord. Pretty much the hub is going to be kind of integrate it with Discord. So Discord's kind of like going to be the community side of it, and then the hub is like the action side, how to actually take action. We're really building ways that make like where you could spend 5 minutes before bed on your phone and actually make a difference. It doesn't take a whole day of protesting or day of doing different kind of activism. Now with the digital age, you could just do a few minutes a day and actually move the needle forward. And we're asking you to do things that are nonpartisan, it's non-divisive, it's stuff that you're going to agree with, your neighbor's going to agree with. It doesn't matter what party you guys are in. It's all pro democracy, pro people. So the more you learn about it, most people just take some reading about it, really understanding what we're doing, and a lot of people get really excited about it, build some new hope on how we can move forward in a healthy way and build a better democracy and all that good stuff. So yeah, definitely check us out, and you'll keep watching us in the next couple weeks, couple months. We're gonna be growing pretty exponentially very soon.
Awesome. Well, Travis, thanks for coming on. We really enjoyed having you on, and have to have you on again in the future and give us an update on where Fink's at, where everything's at, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good news for it all. So appreciate you coming on, and everybody, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.